Hello, dear ones. You're at the Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm your host, Alyce Dylan, and I'm spinning off from last pod where I was discussing the evolutionary leap and the purpose of this life and why did you come here. So if you haven't listened to the last one, please go back and listen because this might not make sense without that context. So if we've spent all this time harnessing mineral and vegetable and animal and learning all the skills inherent in being any one of those just to get into the human experience, to have fun, play, learn, hear, and acquire a soul. The soul is a mysterious thing, isn't it? I mean, we know about it. It's not spirit. It's not the same thing. Soul and spirit are not the same thing. What I do know for sure is that the soul is somehow one particle of one element and therefore is not subject to degradation. And it ensures our eternal continuity. Maybe it's the 47 grams they talk about. And so just having come here and attained the human experience, just coming here and being the human secures the soul, and there we go. Now we have an eternal life to look forward to moving ahead. Right, but we want to inhabit, our true selves want to inhabit this human experience, and so we get up to frequencies and we maintain that for a while, and our spirit selves takes inhabitation. Yay! And then we're capable of amazing things. Yes, some of it we can already do just with the connection, just being connected to our spirit selves, just doing the meditations, doing the listening, the channeling, we can do that. But imagine if we're not now separated. The image I have in my mind is, as kids, we put a cup at the one end and a cup at the other end and a string in the middle. And that sometimes, doesn't that feel like your communication with your spirit self, with your true self? Like your true self is at the other end of the cup and trying to get messages through, and you're listening, but did I hear that right? Or am I getting that? Am I interpreting that right? Anyway, but now spirit self actually comes home. Spirit self takes up habitation, and then there's no delay, there's no broken telephone. Now our true selves get to play in this world, and that's what we've never seen en masse. We haven't seen hundreds and thousands and millions of people, all who know who they are. They are the spirit eternal self, walking around in human form and being incredible and doing incredible things. Once the majority of the population see that, just a few of us need to achieve it in our lifetimes, but once the population sees that and knows that, can you imagine how the whole dynamic of humanity will shift? Because if this life is not solely about the human experience, if it truly is an eternal journey, and it's about the spirit self taking up habitation in the human self and manifesting and focusing on outcomes and creating those and telepathing across the world, and hey, why not? Let's do teleportation. Let's have teleportation centers where we just teleport stuff to each other. Who knows? Who knows what we're capable of truly when I say we, our true selves, our true spirit selves. And so then what was this human creation? What was this human dilemma? What is this human experience then? If it's just a taxi, if it's just, well, it's more integrated than that because it's manifestation of essence. So it's not just an external thing that we create that is like out of a printing press. It's a manifestation of all the frequencies of our true selves. So there's got to be a correlation to the lives lived before, the mineral, vegetable, animal lives lived before, and somehow the frequency of those lives has to affect our spirit selves and has to have a part in determining where that spirit self chooses to manifest itself into human form. And then in human form, we inherit the upline, the ancestral baggage of the upline, but we also get a family and we get this human experience, and we use all the learning we've acquired through the animal kingdom. We use all that learning to breathe, to walk around, to have a human form, a human body that now thinks and has rational thought, which is not something animals have. Animals are very instinctive, they can have emotions, but there's not much of a rational, cogitative state at play. So, as a human being, we now have this rational faculty, which not only makes connections and understands things more deeply, but can truly work out next steps and build things and change things. We have all of that capacity now. Yay. And there are people who have achieved this, who have actually documented it. And so we know from what they've left us that the human body then does one of two things. Either it heals and renews and becomes glowy and lovely, or just gets abandoned because the soul has outgrown the human form. But we know we can bring more life, more healing, more joy to our human selves as our true selves, not as this network of conditioning and social programming and education in inverted commas, this layers and layers of untruth, but as the true spirit self, we can bring such enlightenment to the world. And really, that is the next phase of humanity. So from there, how worried do you think we're going to be about AI? I mean, if we truly become the homes, the true habitation for our spirit selves, and the spirit self has access to, and here I'm going to take you for a leap. So you've heard of quantum entanglement, right? So if we are all sparks flying off the bonfire of source, then quantum entanglement applies, and that's where you get the term Akashic records from. It's also collective consciousness, etc. When our true spirit selves acquire learning, that becomes a part of the collective consciousness through quantum entanglement, the same way that crows on one part of the world learn a new thing and the crows on the other side of the world know a thing. Scientists are still busy with this one. They haven't quite figured it out yet, but they have worked it out in light particles, and in light, quantum entanglement is a real thing. So, and we are light beings and we're all from the same light source. So quantum entanglement applies, and that then explains the Akashic records and the collective consciousness. So now, with access to the collective consciousness, with access to, and certainly not the highest levels of collective consciousness, but even our spirit selves, they have at least access to the lower levels of collective consciousness. So, which is like plugging into AI, isn't it? I mean, really, except it's intelligence, true intelligence. And there's this other truth of life that I'd like you to bear in mind, in that even in spiritual teachings, source, God, the universe, the one record we have on what source has to say about the creation of humanity is that humanity is created in the image of source. It's where the shiny bums get all their arrogance. But if you're not going to use arrogance in this application, then you'll know that we too are of source and are created of source. And then if you look at everything else in physical reality, bees make baby bees, foxes make baby foxes, humans make baby humans. We make mirrors of our own selves. We create in our own image. Creation is always in our own image. And so therefore trees create trees in their own image. It is a law of creation. You create in your own image. So AI then is a creation of humanity. It's a creation of man. and therefore it has to be in our own image. Just like our spirit selves created our human manifestation, our human selves, in order to have a human experience. So then humanity created this AI self. And yeah, it could be a good or a bad thing depending on who's in charge, but it is a creation of humanity. And therefore, there is an own image issue. I think we should do a deep dive on this one day, but it's a very telling thing that we are afraid of our own creation. And it also shows the level of attachment to this physical reality. So there's been quite a bit of learning and documenting and history there can be the argument that a lot of it is flawed and written from skewed perspectives. But there's a lot of information out there. Certainly more information than any one human being could sift through in a lifetime. Even if you lived in libraries, you couldn't get through all of it. So this tool to be able to sift through everything that's out there and give you a synopsis of what's been discovered before certainly seems like a good idea. It's certainly going to save us a bunch of time. So there are positive aspects. If we recognize that we are the AI, in the sense that spirit selves created our human selves, and just as our human self is now creating this technical self, it's two steps away from spirit, and spirit is eternal. So why are we worried about this? Even if we gave AI governance of the physical world, we are eternal beings. We have access to collective consciousness and to all intelligence. Why is this a threat? Because we're identifying too heavily in our physical selves. Yes, there's a lot of change necessary. Once any 5%, 10% of humanity figures out that really, truly identifies as a spiritual being having a human experience, then life needs to adjust to that, doesn't it? It means we're all eternal journeymen and we're here briefly. And what can we do while we're here? And that becomes the question. What is it that I want to do? And that frees human creativity. That removes fear, and that creates a demand for a playground. We want life to be a playground. And we want to do what we came here to do, which is play and learn and have fun and know joy. And the capacity and resources and the structures needed to ensure that do exist. We're already in a time where, for example, if every company on earth gave 10% of its shareholding to a collective, and that shareholding was distributed every year to everybody, it would provide a basic subsistence income, especially with the AI things that are coming in now. So you could have everything you needed every month, and you could still have the ability to make extra money and form businesses and be an entrepreneur, but at least basics would be taken care of, and that would remove a whole layer of fear and uncertainty, that would minimize crime, and that would get rid of fear at so many levels. So if we understand, yes, I know there are problems, people need to respect the capacity of AI more, but we need to understand it as our creation, just as our human self is the creation of our spirit self. And in that context, dominion over the world, over this physical plane, it's not the goal. It's not what we came here to do. We didn't come here to rule over a piece of this world, or even the whole world. We came here to discover and learn and see, what fun is it going to be to figure out what is the true capacity of the spirit-inhabited human form? What is our true capacity? Telepathy, clairvoyance. We know some of them already, but nowhere near what's truly possible. And we're on the leading edge of this, remember. That's why I'm talking to you. That's why you've tuned in here. It's because you know you're on this leading edge. And so you understand that if you can get your head around this picture, you'll know this is what you came here for. Yeah, this will be fun, won't it? You'll get that. You'll get that feeling. Anyone who I've ever walked through this process has ended up with a glint in their eye, like, yeah, this is going to be fun. And it is. Even if we just get to see the first twinkling of it, it's going to be amazing. That's what you came here for. So if you've been down in the mud, struggling to survive, dragging yourself through this five sense world, wondering why, why did I do this? I didn't come here for this. You were right. You didn't come here for that. You came here to elevate yourself, to raise your frequency, to clear out the detritus of the collective conditioning and all the fear mongering and all of that. Elevate your experience into bliss, joy, happy. Allow the habitation of your spirit self. And then, that's what you came here for. Play, joy, learn, have fun. That's what you came here to do. Yes, but Alyce, I'm standing here right now and I have to go to work from 8 to 5. And how do I even get to think about that? Well, you stand in your human experience, you clear away as much as you can, you do your meditation, you focus on love, all of the tools I set down in my books. You focus on what you love, on what you want, you do your meditation, you elevate your life as much as possible, and you listen, you start listening. For anyone who's ready for it, I'm going to start a little offshoot from this podcast. I'll probably do it Mondays or Wednesdays or Fridays. And I'm going to start going into the aspects of intuitive counseling that some of you might be interested in or might want to see if you can do it or if you can see things. So, what I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks, and I'm thinking I'll maybe only do 9 of them in total, but it is something that people have inquired about. So, I'm going to take 9 high profile people and I'm going to do an intuitive assessment of them. And I'm going to walk anyone who's interested through the process of intuitive counseling assessment. What you look for, the state you need to be in, and what's required. And so, and none of it is negative, none of it is nasty or anything like that. It's a purely, in fact, the first thing you need to do if you ever want to get into intuitive counseling is you need to park your judgment if you have any. I was very blessed not to be born with that particular affliction, but for people who are born with it, you need to park it. So you don't come from a place of judgment, you come from a place of allowing. And in your allowing and in your receiving, you just, with loving eyes, you assess. And you look at someone and you see the truths that you can see, and you give an honest and clear assessment of that person. So I'm going to start with, there are 3 names that have I've discussed this with a few people, and there have been 3 names that have been suggested to me. One is Joe Rogan, another one is Russell Brand, and the other one is Chase Hughes. And I'll add to that as we go along. People have asked me for things like, there are certain people I won't look at. I won't look simply because just even attempting to do so makes me nauseous, which is my way of knowing this is not to be done, either for my sake or for theirs, or because they have icky energy that my being doesn't want to go near. So there are some no's from me. I won't look at some people. And then there are other people who are such vocal people right now that you can hardly see them. They're surrounded by so much light and so many fairies, actually. Lots of fairies, lots of other people, so some people are difficult to see in whatever the role they're playing right now. Other people are just icky, and I won't look at them because, yeah. And then there are people who put themselves in the public space. They put themselves in I wouldn't ever assess someone without their permission who wasn't already putting themselves forward in the public square. So from that, people are putting themselves into the public eye, and that implies permission to look at them. And just because I happen to be an intuitive and I can look at people and see more than perhaps other people do, I don't think contravenes any respect boundaries that I have. So, if you have any thoughts on people you would like me to look at, please put it in the comments. I will be gathering suggestions across all the platforms, and I will, as I say, I'll only do 9, but for now, Joe Rogan will likely be the first one. So if you want to go ahead, if you don't know Joe Rogan well, if you want to go ahead and have a look at Joe Rogan, and just from an intuitive place, just see what you pick up, see what stands out for you, and then I'll do a separate assessment and you can compare notes and see what you come through with. So that's just for people who want to perhaps practice or find their capacity, see if intuitive counseling is something they would ever be interested in getting into. All right, darlings. So, and remember, we're going to do it with love. Always.